What if chasing success is just a clever disguise for running from yourself?
I don't want to be the type of person that attaches my identity to something external, be it a partnership or a job or whatever it is. I want to be good with myself no matter what and really be grounded in my essence and really believe in myself without all of those attachments.
Jess Prudhomme is someone who had it all on paper. The accolades, the job, the image, but underneath, she was doing something many of us know all too well. She was moving fast just to avoid the feeling that she might not be enough.
I think in the past, I would not have told people that I'm doing this. I would have hidden it shamefully because it's really counterculture. I know a lot of people applauded me for it, but I'm sure a lot of other people are probably like, what the hell is she doing? She left this really stable career. But I think when we are open and vulnerable, it inspires other people and it causes people to look inward at themselves and ask those questions for themselves.
In this conversation, we talk about what happens when you realize you're on a path that looks perfect from the outside but feels completely out of alignment on the inside. Jess didn't just pivot, she unraveled, rebuilt, and started asking better questions. And what she found, it wasn't more ambition, it was peace.
It was simultaneously one of the most terrifying and liberating experiences I've ever had. It reminds me a little bit of my divorce in the sense of you're leaping into the unknown. You don't know what's on the other side, but you're just kind of following your gut and you know that it feels right.
This is a conversation about the courage it takes to stop performing and to start being. Let's get into it. Jess, welcome to the Grateful Podcast.
Oh my gosh, Jack, thank you so much for the warm intro. That was such a beautiful introduction.
Of course, yeah. I just had someone earlier that said I should be a professional intro giver, just stop podcasting and just write intros for people. So I guess I have my career figured out.
It's a great suggestion because you're very good at it. But thank you so much. I've been tuning into your show. And first of all, I'm so impressed. How old are you again? You're 18?
I'm 18, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I am so impressed by your presence, your hosting skills, the depth of the conversations that you're having. And I just love everything that you're doing about making gratitude a practice and not just a feeling and integrating it into the success story and what it means to be ambitious is to integrate gratitude. So you're doing some really cool stuff.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And you are too. I didn't mention it in the intro, but Jess is the host of the Great Detour podcast. And yeah, it's really amazing. I listened to some of your episodes preparing for this. And so I'm super excited. The Great Detour and the Grateful podcast are morphing together for an hour.
It was meant to be.
Yes. So I know I said this before we started recording, but I think we are very, very similar people, despite whatever age difference we may have and life experience. I think to this point in my life, I followed a similar path that you followed in your life. As you said in your last solo episode, that you started the grind in middle school and didn't stop until now. And that's crazy. And I think I can very much relate to that. I've been I remember middle school grinding, trying to get approval from teachers, I never really needed it from parents, but just approval in general and trying to be successful. And so I'm very interested to hear about the pivots you've taken and the detour that led you to get out of that hustle mindset.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think we are kindred spirits. However, I feel like you are an old soul. I don't remember having these conversations and doing the introspection and having the self-awareness that you have at 18. So kudos to you, man. You're much further ahead than I was at that age.
Thank you. Yeah, I credit that a lot to my parents, my friends, just relationships in general.
Yeah.
So let's get into this. I just listened, as I said, and I saw that you just quit your job, something that has been feeling like it's supposed to happen for a long time. But as you said, very out of line with how many people would perceive you. How did it feel to do something that felt right for you, but you've probably received some backlash from people that think they know you?
It was simultaneously one of the most terrifying and liberating experiences I've ever had. It reminds me a little bit of my divorce in the sense of you're leaping into the unknown. You don't know what's on the other side, but you're just kind of following your gut and you know that it feels right. But as you were just saying, I am your quintessential type A. I am the high achieving, high performer, perfect, do good, live a perfect life type of girl. At least that's who I've been most of my life. And so to quit my job without anything lined up is so contrary to who I am. But my whole life has been this grind of achieving, 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 checking things off a list. And then at the end of the day, not feeling fulfilled, not feeling like true joy or happiness. And so, a few years back, about 4 years ago, I ended up getting a divorce, and we can talk about that afterwards, and did this huge overhaul of my life. And it was amazing, difficult, but amazing in so many ways. And I felt like I really came home to myself. But then still, this underlying feeling of I'm not living my purpose. I'm not doing the things I want to do. And I just felt like I was going to a job every day. I was working this corporate job I was in the same company for the past 10 years. And when it was good, it was good. But somewhere along the line, it stopped fulfilling me and I stopped feeling excited about it. And then there was just this feeling in the morning where I would get out of bed like, oh, I have to do this again. And it just was pulling at me and pulling at me. And it was one of those whispers where I kind of just ignored it for a while. Probably a couple years ago, it started to come up and I'd start looking for other jobs and nothing ever felt right or fulfilling, but I just knew I wanted more in my life. So finally, it came to a point this year where I just couldn't not acknowledge it anymore. I wasn't happy, I wasn't fulfilled, and I wanted more. I want more for my life. And I felt like the longer I stayed, the more I was going to be stuck. The golden handcuffs. It's very easy to stay in a situation where it's financially comfortable.
Mm,
So I could easily stay there for a long time, but I decided to really gamble on myself and take a huge risk, a calculated risk, but a huge risk in saying, you know what? I believe in myself. I want more for my life. And I'm going to step out of this grind for the first time in my adult life, actually, first time since childhood, and really pause and give myself the opportunity to hear my soul speak and figure out what is it that I want to do next? What is it that is calling me? Because basically, the work I was doing, I was in the payments industry, but I kind of just fell into that. I graduated in 2008 during the financial crisis, just blanket applied to a million jobs, and whoever would take me, that's what happened. That's where I
uh-huh.
ended up. So I got a job in book publishing. Okay, cool. I liked reading books. I was an English minor, communications major. So that's what I fell into. And then after that, I was in publishing for some time. And then I was like, you know what? I want to make the jump. I want to make more money. Let me get into financial services. So then I took my marketing background from publishing and applied it to financial services and did well there. But I never really asked myself, what is it that I want to do? I kind of just followed just whatever job I fell into or wherever the money was taking me. So what I'm doing now is pausing and getting really intentional. I'm 39, I'll be 40 next year. What do I want 40 and beyond to look like? So I'm taking the time to really get quiet, and I'm working with a life coach and just doing a lot of internal exploration to see like what are my skill sets, what are my values, what are my priorities, and how can I take those to create a beautiful life for me from 40 and beyond. But it is definitely daunting to look ahead and not know what is coming next.
I'm 18. I host the Grateful Podcast, and I've made a decision. I'm going to hit 100,000 downloads of my podcast before I leave for college on August 31st. I don't care how crazy it sounds. I'm all in. Every single day, I'll update you on my progress, wins, losses, strategy, doubt, everything. Let's see how far this goes. Follow along if you want to see me pull it off or burn out in the process. Yeah, it's so interesting. One of my biggest theories that I've developed is that a lot of times our biggest decisions, if we're making them in alignment, they're made through feeling. And a lot of the reasons we give that are actually tangible, that people can understand, those are kind of made up cover reasons to back up that feeling. And so it seems like um, at the beginning of your life, you kind of just made decisions and took a path that was kind of laid out for you, right? This is the society's goal for so many people. And this is when you're high achieving type A, successful student or young kid, this is what people make you think you want to do, right? But you were never able to slow down and say, and be able to uh, kind of feel what that life you wanted looked like so that you could make that decision in an intuitive way. And now you're doing that, and it's never too late to do that.
It's never too late to do it. And I will say, slowing down is uncomfortable. I thought I was going to enjoy it initially, and it's an undoing of a way of life that I have been so conditioned to go, 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 to be productive all the time. And initially when I first quit, it's like, ooh, what is this now? I feel like I'm not adding value to society. Like
Hmm.
how do I operate in the world? How will people see me? That was a tough one.
Yes.
It's almost a full-blown identity crisis of who am I without this big Fortune 500 job to back me up? Like, who am I? But it's an important question to ask because I don't want to be the type of person that attaches my identity to something external, be it a partnership or a job or whatever it is. I want to be good with myself no matter what and really be grounded in my essence and really believe in myself without all of those attachments. And but it's hard. I'm trying to, in my podcast I talk about this all the time with my guests, and it's been really inspiring to me but also challenging. It's like held up a mirror to myself, and now I'm trying to really walk the walk, talk the talk. Like, okay, we talk about, being okay with who we are and not attaching our identity to these external things. Like, let me really try this and see how it feels. And it's certainly stretching me, that's for sure.
What does your identity look like now that you're trying to detach from a job or something external?
Yeah, it's that's a great question. It's really getting quiet and grounding into my essence. And before, when people would ask me, "Who are you?" I would automatically default to, "Oh, I'm a marketing director at this company.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a wife." Now I think, "Who am I?" I'm a creative thinker. I'm a storyteller. I'm a connector. I'm kind and thoughtful. Like, I look at like the qualities that I have and those types of things that I can give to the world, and I look at myself that way, and I just, this is something I think a lot of people struggle with, especially women, but I'm sure men struggle with it too, is just feeling inherently worthy. Like, we come to this planet, we come to this earth, and we are perfect the way we are. We are inherently worthy and worthy of love and all of the good things, but life happens and we somehow get this idea that we need to perform and achieve in order to gain love or in order to earn good things in life. And that's just not the case. And I think we all come with innate gifts and strengths, and we can use those to give back to the world. But like, we don't need to perform to be worthy. And so that's
Hmm.
something I'm constantly reminding myself of now, is that um, to just undo this performance mindset I've had my whole life. And it really is an undoing. And it's humbling, but I also feel like I'm opening myself up to so much more, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. But it's also humbling in the sense that I feel like I'm taking everybody along on this detour with me real time. I'm not on the other
Yeah.
side where I'm like, oh, I've built this great new business or I've done this thing that's come out of this time. I'm in it right now, but I think that's kind of the beauty of this period, is like I want to let people know that you're not alone with whatever detour you're going through. Like, we all have our different chapters in life and we're all going through our different journeys. And I think by being vulnerable, it just helps other people on their respective journey.
Well, I mean, on the internet, there's so much of learning from people that have already done it.
Hmm.
And I think this is where many people go wrong when they're seeking out advice. They ask the person that has already done it what they did to get there, and that person's so detached from that arc when they were actually getting what they have, they don't give the advice that someone within the chapter that that person's in is on. Like, you shouldn't be getting advice from someone 30 steps ahead of you. You should be getting advice from someone 2 steps ahead of you or even with you, right? And I think both me and you, we are doing that. We're not we're sharing and we're being vulnerable about things that are happening now and the journeys we're on now, not something we did 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I find a lot of comfort in it. When I was going through my own detours, I mean, when I was going through my divorce, it could be really isolating at times. And I remember finding so much comfort in other people's stories who were going through the same thing. And so that's what I'm trying to do for others right now is just be open and vulnerable, share my story, share the stories of others. And I feel like we can all just help each other. But one thing I'm also trying to do is encourage people to look inward. I think a lot of times
Hmm.
we can go outward and say, oh, like, what's your advice? And it's great to take advice from those that we admire and respect and who are have done or are doing the things that we want. But I also believe that deep inside, we all have the answers. And sometimes it just takes a little time to uncover the layers and get
Hmm.
to the root of it. I think that's what I'm doing now. Like I believe in my soul, in my core, I know what's next and I know what I want, but I think it's going to take a little rest and a little time to dig in and find that. And nobody else can tell me that. Like that's something that I need to discover on my own. And I'm so grateful to have this time in my life that I can actually do that. Like I think about when I'm an old woman and I'm 80 and I'm looking back on my life, like I'm going to be like, you know what? You were a badass girl. Like you like took yourself out of the grind. You did something like not many people do to like really take a chance on yourself. And I feel like that's the kind of life I want, where I
Yeah.
took chances and I really tried to craft something that was true, a life that was truly for me, not just going to this mundane job every day and doing the same old, same old.
Right. If you were the movie main character, what would the audience be screaming at you to do? That's one of my favorite quotes. And I think for you, you took that step.
Quit the job.
The audience would be like, "Yeah, you did it.
Yep.
Nice job, Jess."
Hmm.
Um, what's interesting is you took a step outside of one ambition to pursue something that was ambitious in another sense. How do you differentiate between the ambition that is you running away from something, a fear-driven ambition, and an authentic, purpose-driven ambition?
That's a really great question. I think a fear-based ambition is one where you're trying to prove yourself. If I do this, it will mean this. If I do this, I'll get attention, affection, love, whatever it might be. When it's more authentic, I feel it's because it's something that genuinely lights your soul up and something that fuels you and you just feel passionate about. And that's what it was with the podcast. Like the
Mhm.
podcast can be considered ambitious, but I love
Definitely.
having these conversations. It literally gives me life. It's almost this like life sustaining and giving for me. So for me, that is genuine. And that's why I try to take those when I see those things that light me up, I just take data from it. I say, okay, that's something that's good. Like that's something that really fuels me. Okay, where can I get more of that? How could this translate into a career or how can I use these skill sets elsewhere? So I'm trying to be curious about where this is leading me.
Yeah. Earlier today, I spoke with a therapist, a very interesting guy. I'm not gonna say who he is yet because I don't know when I'm releasing that episode, if it's before or after this. But he said that together we kind of discovered that my podcast, my business endeavors, all of that, just like the gym is for some people or drinking is for some people, it's a way to avoid quiet. It's a way to avoid yourself, even if it is something that's objectively good
Mm.
or um, driven by great intentions. Uh, he said that we can often look at what we're doing to avoid just being still. And it's not always a bad thing, but a lot of times we have to be able to introspect and see like what are my intentions? What are the roots of this? And a lot of times people are cutting off like weeds with a weed whacker, but they're not cutting the roots and the weeds are going to grow back. You know what I mean? So I think what you've done and what I found myself doing on my trip is digging at those roots by taking that quiet time. You're able to like actually take the weed out so it doesn't grow back.
Yeah, no, that's actually such a great point. It's really true. And man, I love therapy. I've been going to therapy for years. I don't think I'll ever stop, but I just find it so interesting why we do the things we do. And we
Hmm.
can become so talented at avoiding things or distracting ourselves, and we don't even realize that we're doing it. I am so guilty of this as well. And that's true. Even healthy things and productive things like, producing a podcast can be avoiding some deeper feeling. And sometimes, my therapist, you just reminded me of this. And when I am going through a time where I'm like really overwhelmed or anxious and I'm go, 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 she'll ask me, Jess, what are you avoiding? And
Huh.
I'm like, oh my gosh, like she makes me stop and think about it. And generally, I am avoiding some feeling or something that's deep down. So that's a really great point that the therapist brought up. But yeah, this time right now that I'm taking is super intentional because I also did pause the podcast, which was hard because I just launched it earlier in the year and I was really picking up momentum and really enjoying it. But I wanted a period, and it's not like I'm going to launch season 3 in the fall, but I just wanted a period where I could really lean into the stillness. And like I said, it is uncomfortable because my nature is still coming up inside me saying, do something, be productive with your day, have an agenda, and I have to fight it. And it's almost like this part of me is dying, this old part of me that
Huh.
was so used to achieving and producing. I'm like letting that part die and then seeing what comes up in its place. And yeah, it's an interesting experience.
So, what have you uncovered and what weeds are you getting to the root of now that you've taken this still time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure in time more will come up. But right now, I've discovered that yeah, a lot of I don't think I realized how much of my identity was wrapped up in my career. And it's a little bit disappointing, to be honest. I've done so much work on myself, especially since my divorce. But I feel like my career was a really, really big part of my identity. And now that that's gone, it's this a reckoning of sorts. And who am I without that? But I think it's an important process to go through and important questions to ask myself. And I think it's also just realizing that how important freedom is to me. I
Hmm.
don't think I realized how trapped I felt before in the grind, in the 9 to 5, 9 to 5 plus. Right now, honestly, all I want to do is go for walks. Like I've been taking so many walks in nature, but it's been quite healing and restorative. I just like go down the street to Dunkin', I get my iced coffee, and I'll just spend hours outside every day just listening to podcasts or not, and just going for walks. And it just feels so good to have this period of not being scheduled. And that's been
Mm.
surprisingly liberating.
How's it feel in your head? I know for me, when I took time and I wasn't listening to podcasts all the time or looking at social media content to get ideas,
Mhm.
I was able to slow down and identify my own thoughts and other thoughts. Have you witnessed something similar?
I'm still getting acquainted with it, but my biggest one is I'm just constantly reaching for something to do. And it's almost like I have to slap
Oh.
my hand and say, no, like you don't need to do. You just be. Just
Yeah.
be in stillness. And I'm really trying to, like, even in the mornings, for example, I'll get up and if I decide to sleep in, I automatically feel guilty and almost this
Yes.
anxiety will start
Yeah.
building. And I'm like, why am I feeling guilty? This is a limited period. It's a gift. This period in my life is a gift. Why can't I just sleep in and embrace it? Because there's going to be a period where, I got bills to pay. I'm going to have to get another job at some point or another. So, like, why not lean into this? Let my body rest. So, I think right now what I'm learning is to let like my body and soul take the lead a little bit and not
Mm.
feel guilty about it, and just I'm trying to get out of my head and into my body, to be honest. So I'm working on things like meditation, breath work, like just physical activity, things that will get me in my body and grounded and out of my head, because I am always, you probably are this way too, I am
Yeah.
always in my head, always overthinking and analyzing everything.
Yeah, I've been really trying to do things that take my uh, my experience out of just my brain.
Mhm.
Um, Rock climbing's my favorite thing. That's my favorite sport. And it's really something you have to be completely present for. And you do have to think, but you have to be thinking about your right foot at the same time that you're thinking about your left pinky finger, right? And so
Yeah.
you can't just be here. You have to use your entire body. Sometimes I'll just look down at like my toe. I'll be like, that's me. That right there, that's a part of me. And it's really weird for us, I think most people who spend such a majority of time up here. Like this feels like us. We live from the neck up.
We really do. So I just tried rock climbing for the first time. It is so much
Nice.
harder than I thought it was going to be. So I give you so much credit. The next day, my fingertips were sore, but it was a great workout. And everything you're saying, it just describes what it means to be present. You're
Yeah.
just fully present. You're looking at your feet. Okay, maybe you're thinking about like your next move and what you're going to grab next or where you're going to place your foot, but you are forced to just be in the moment that you're in. You're not thinking about your agenda or what meeting you have or interview you have tomorrow. And there is so much beauty in that. And I actually think that's where like you really get closer to yourself, that you can hear yourself and figure out what your next step is, figure out what your soul is calling you to do. And that's what I'm trying to do now, is truly just be present and allow that to guide me to whatever the next step is. One of that Rumi quote is one of my favorites. It says, "As you step on the way appears." Like you don't need to have it all
Hmm.
planned out. You just need that next step in front of you. And I think being present is a huge part of that.
Right. It's interesting at an eight from my perspective as an 18-year-old, I have so many peers that think they need to have it all figured out. And many people are pressuring me and my friends and my peers to think we need to have it all figured out. My philosophy, the thing I've tried to tell many of my friends, and I say on this podcast very, very often, probably every other episode or so, is that instead of having it all figured out, instead of saying at 24, I'm going to be doing this, just take a step in the direction that you want to go. You can have a general direction, follow what you love to do right now, and then a door will open. You'll have these opportunities that will open from there, and you can choose what you want to do there. And it's playing connect the dots instead of drawing the line at once. Your line doesn't have to be straight, it can zigzag, go backward, whatever. But if you make a decision for yourself, like if you said right now, at 45, I'm going to be doing X, Y, and Z, you're limiting your 45-year-old self to your 39-year-old self's perspective instead of like you're negating all the wisdom that you would gain in between.
That's a great point. Yeah, and life goes through cycles and you go through different iterations of yourself and different versions of yourself. So I think it's just being open to, yeah, just the road going in different directions and detouring and just leaning into wherever it takes you. I know we think we're supposed to end up at this certain destination, but that's not the way it is. I thought the same thing. I had it all planned out. I got married when I was 28. I married, so you're 18. I married my high school sweetheart. So we started dating when I was 17. Thought I had it all figured out. So from 17 to 35, I was with the same person, thought I had my whole future ahead of me, had it all planned. And then at 35, that all unraveled. And I was left thinking, oh my God, this whole life I planned, this whole future I planned for myself is gone. What do I do?
Mm.
But it was actually, I'm so grateful for it. And I know it's weird to say this, but my divorce, it was a gift to me because it really brought me home to myself in a way that I never thought I needed, but I actually did. And it really was the catalyst for my healing journey and my journey of self-exploration. But it's not something I ever would have planned, but life takes you in directions you don't expect. And that's absolutely okay. I think it's those detours that really bring out your most authentic and empowered version of yourself if you allow them to.
Yeah, these detours that you talk about, it's one of the things that I respect most in a person is when the thing that they would view as one of the worst things in their life that could happen to them. So for you, a divorce is probably up there, like top 10 worst things that you could have had happen to you in your life. And it becomes the catalyst for the greatest things in your life to come. You've allowed that horrible experience, you've been able to internalize that and become grateful for it to the point where the rest of your life is better because it happened. You would never want to go through it again, but you're very glad that it did happen to you. And I think that is the mindset that if we can put that on everybody, that will change the world. Because right now, there are so many victims out there. There's so many people that this happened to me, please feel bad for me. And that's a result of many other things. But if we can change to realize like these things could catalyze the lives that we want, like people can end up living their dream lives and taking steps like you are now.
It's so true. Victim mentality can be so dangerous and disempowering. But when you can really lean into the hard things that happen and say, okay, this happened. Look, I divorce is not fun. I do not recommend it. I would not like to go through it again. But you clear away, once the dust settles, you clear it all away and you say, okay, well, what were the things I learned from this? Like, what can I take out of this? And there's always a lesson. There is always something you can take out of it. You built resiliency. You learned about yourself. You got yourself through a really hard time and taught yourself you can do hard things. And that's what it was for me. And so much of what I have in my life today, especially just like how close I got to myself, I would not have that if I had not gone through what I've gone through. So no, the experience was tough and I would not like to relive it, but I'm so grateful for everything that I gained from it. And I think if we all take a moment to kind of view the hard things we're going through in that lens, like there's so much beauty we can take from it.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Grateful Podcast. I'm interrupting to let you know that it would mean the world to me if you could share this episode with someone that you think would enjoy it, or leave a review down below so I can learn what I can do better and what I'm doing well with this podcast. It's a passion project and I really want it to turn into something that helps people everywhere. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. Do you think because of the unexpected nature of the divorce and how it kind of shattered the glass of the plans you had for the future, that led you to realize like, oh, my other plans are maybe less solid than I thought, and so I should now take more charge of the life I want to live?
100%. I think my divorce was the first big step in my growth journey in coming home to myself. It was this whole journey for me has been one of self-reclamation. I think I kind of lost sight of who I was over the years. I just became this overachieving performer and was just checking boxes off the list. And then once my divorce happened, it put me, I went to therapy, I started doing the work. I started asking myself questions like, what do I want to do? Like, what do I like? I started traveling by myself, like finding new interests and hobbies and really starting to discover who I am. And then once you get closer to yourself, things happen. You realize, oh, I don't want to hang out with those people anymore. So some of my friendships have changed since then. And then, you get to the career chapter and you're like, oh, this doesn't make me happy anymore. And I don't want to do this anymore. So I think it is all connected. It's all part of the journey of self-discovery and coming home to who you truly are. And I think that we think that these experiences break us. I think they actually reveal who we truly are.
That's beautiful. What do you think if yourself at my age saw you now? What do you think she would say?
Oh my gosh, it's so funny to think about that version of myself. I remember exactly who she was. I was just like, oh my gosh, just hopelessly in love. Just like all I could think about was my relationship. And then I was terrified because I was going off to college. And my ex-husband and we went to two different colleges. So I was just so worried about the long distance and how we were going to make it work. Oh my gosh. But I'm sure if she saw me now, she would just be so proud of me and the woman I've become and the strength and the confidence that I uncovered. It was always there all along. I believe these qualities are always in us, but sometimes we lose sight of them. And I think she'd be proud that I uncovered them and just came home to who I am.
Right, it's the alchemist thing where you always the destination is just right where you start.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Have you read The Alchemist?
I haven't. I need to, though.
Okay, yeah, that is my if I could recommend one book for you, it's definitely that book. It's amazing.
I feel like I've heard a few people talk about it recently, so I got to add it to my reading list. Now I got time.
They're omens, and then that's also an alchemist reference. I can't go a podcast without making a reference to that book.
Well, I definitely am going to add it to my list.
So, how do you follow a gut feeling when it feels like when everyone around you is saying no? How do you build up that self-confidence to believe in yourself and bet on yourself when maybe other people don't believe in you in the same way?
Yeah, it's hard. I think it takes experience and practice. You'll see the more you don't listen to it and things happen and you're like, oh man, my gut was right. Like, I'm sure you have those experiences too. We all do. But then you'll start seeing when you do trust it, And then you have this lived experience that you've gone through, and you can say, oh, wow, I did that and it worked. And that's kind of what I've been doing with leaving this job. I mean, this has been the biggest thing I've done in a long time, but
Yeah.
I keep referring back to my divorce and knowing that was back at that point in my life, that was the hardest thing I'd been through. But I did it. And it was a very similar feeling like, I know this is right. I know this is the next step in my life, but I have no idea what's on the other side. And
Mm,
then, had I known the other side would look like this, I probably would have left earlier, to be honest.
that's
It
cool.
was just, I just had no idea how good it was going to get. All I saw was a blank canvas. And a
Mm,
blank canvas is terrifying, but it's also exciting. And that's how I'm trying to view this next chapter, as this is a blank canvas. But you could say, oh my God, anything could happen. But like, anything could happen. Like, amazing things could happen. And the more I do it, the more I listen to myself and say yes to those gut feelings, the more evidence I have to show like, oh, it's good to trust those feelings. But it takes some time and practice, and like it's requires you getting still and like listening to the signals your body will give you. Like, everyone's a little bit different, but like, I don't know, I'll just like have a knowing and just feel it
mm,
in my body. And I try to wait till I'm in a neutral state. Like, I don't try to make decisions when I'm like on a high or like feeling really low. I try to like, this was a long time coming, this job decision. I just didn't make it overnight. It took a lot of introspection, talking to my therapist, even talking to people close to me. And then it just felt like, yeah, this is right. And the thing that did it for me was, the only thing scarier than leaving the job was staying in the job. And
yeah.
that's when I knew, like, okay, I have to do this. So it's just learning to trust yourself. And that's been a big theme in my life these past like 4 or 5 years, is you have all the answers inside of you. You do. We all do. And it's just learning to trust yourself to make the right choices and right decisions. And a lot of times I think we think there's a right or a wrong. There isn't. That's not necessarily true. Sometimes it's just living your life and having experiences and then getting information and data from those experiences and continuing to grow. But just looking inward and trusting yourself that you're going to get yourself through and you're going to take care of yourself. It's so important. I never used to do that. I always used to outsource decisions to my friends or my parents. Like, what should I do? And now I'll still consult people I trust, but I really try to like ask myself, what do I want? Like, what do I want? And like, an answer will always come up. Journaling is helpful too. It's like, you write the question
Yes.
down and then you see what comes up. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the best way of introspection because sometimes all of your different ideas they just get lost up here.
Yeah.
But when you write them down, it's linear. You get to build a okay, this is what I actually think
Hmm.
in an articulate way because
Yeah.
all the words can't come out at once. So it's only the most important ones that get funneled through.
Do you ever do free writing?
What's that?
It's basically where you can set a timer if you like. You can write a question and then you just like keep writing, and it's like messy, and you just see what comes up. And it doesn't, in the beginning it
Interesting.
might just be like, this is stupid, I don't want to do this. But then you just like literally just let yourself keep writing, and it's really cool to see the things that come up and like what your soul is saying and like what's coming out of your mind at that moment.
I've
So it's
heard
just like
of that.
rapid
Yeah.
writing. Yeah.
I've heard of that, and then there's different stories where people like write crazy things at the
Hmm.
end that are the keys to their future or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
trying it right now a lot. So I'll write a question at the top of the page, and then I set a timer for a few minutes and I just go at it and just see what comes up. But it's a good practice to have.
Have you had anything like very crazy come out of it?
Right now, the only thing that's coming up is that I need to friggin' rest.
Yeah.
I think it's my inclination to like want to have some big revelation so I can go and do it. And I still think like my soul, the universe is just calling me to chill the hell out for a period.
Mm.
I think I need it. I really do. So that's the only big thing that's come out of it so far.
Yeah, one thing I've learned from meditation and journaling is when you're really pushing hard for a big revelation, it's not going to come.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like writer's block, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, so one thing tying back to like both your divorce and quitting your job, you said this in your last podcast. I often stay in things long after their expiration dates because I would rather experience the discomfort and safety than the discomfort of the unknown. And I'm wondering, as you've continually experienced different experiences like this, does your tolerance for something that doesn't feel aligned, has it shrunk? Do you find yourself leaving situations that aren't aligned faster?
Absolutely, yes. The job thing definitely took a long time, but that's also like a huge situation.
Mm-hmm.
But relationships, yes, since I've gotten divorced, if, I was dating somebody and he was a great guy, but I just knew like just wasn't it. And so got out of it probably far earlier than I would have like in the
Mm-hmm.
past. And even friendships now, that was another big learning for me as I've continued to heal and grow. I used to be the type of person that I wanted the widest network and as most people as possible around me. I just like to be liked. Historically, a
Mm-hmm.
people pleaser. But as you heal, you learn you are not for everybody, and everybody is not for you. And what is that expression? A friend to everyone is an enemy to oneself. It really is true. You cannot be accommodating and aligned with everybody if you are like centered in yourself. And so there were some friendships that I had to walk away from in this process, almost like friend breakups. And it was hard, but yeah, I was proud of myself because I think historically I would have stayed in those. I don't even know how long, but much longer. But these experiences have really taught me, like, no, like stand your ground, know who you are, say yes to the things that light you up, and then walk away from the things that just don't fit. And it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't. Everybody needs to do what's best and what's right for them. And for me, yeah, it's certainly gotten easier. It's certainly gotten easier over time. But yeah, the big ones like leaving your decade long career or your decade long job. That was a big one, but I still feel quite confident that it was the right decision, and I'm just so excited for whatever is on the other side.
Yeah. It's for people like us, I've noticed it's very, very hard to say no.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
yeah.
I I interviewed the people displeaser, Nick Pollard, on my podcast. I actually would recommend him for you.
Oh,
He's
awesome.
amazing. Um, but he really, I mean, he was a people pleaser, like hardcore, and then he had to flip the switch. And he helped me realize that saying no is just as important, if not more important, than saying yes, especially for building something like this. You just can't say yes to everything because when you do, you just burn yourself out so fast that you're not any use to the things or people you're saying yes to.
Yeah, you're also just being inauthentic. It's a little bit, I've
Mm,
heard it said, we think when we're people pleasing that we're doing something good, but it's almost manipulative in a way, and we don't realize it.
yes.
We're trying to get people to like us. We're trying to achieve a goal, whatever internal goal it is of our own, by doing things people want because we think it will benefit us. And I think just the more we show up authentically and unapologetically ourselves, the better we'll be. We'll attract people who are truly right for us, like kindred spirits who are meant to be in our lives. And yeah, there's just, I feel like just endless, endlessly good things can come from just being unapologetically authentic.
Right, because when you're not yourself, sure, you can be liked, you're going to be liked by the people that you don't want to be like or like you, and the people that you do want to like you will probably not like you because you're not being yourself, the person that those people want to like. That's been something, I mean, I think a lot of uh, people my age go through things similar, but that was definitely one of my biggest realizations like 3 years ago. Like my best friends, I'm going to find them when I'm me, when I'm truly me, and embrace me for me.
Exactly. Yeah. And those are the people you don't have to worry about losing. You don't have to cling to so tightly because,
Mm.
like, they love you for you. And it's a beautiful place to be when you don't have to put up any appearances and you can just be yourself and know that the people who are with you love you because you are yourself. And it's just beautiful relationships that you'll engage in as well, whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship. You know that it's right for you because you're being who you are.
I'm 18. I host the Grateful Podcast, and I've made a decision. I'm going to hit 100,000 downloads of my podcast before I leave for college on August 31st. I don't care how crazy it sounds. I'm all in. Every single day, I'll update you on my progress, wins, losses, strategy, doubt, everything. Let's see how far this goes. Follow along if you want to see me pull it off or burn out in the process. All right. Something that you said that I really liked was that something can feel fulfilling at one point and then draining later. I think that's important to realize for relationships. Like maybe at first it's very, very fulfilling, or a job or anything really. And then at some point it starts to feel draining, or you're putting more in than you're getting out, and it's okay to let it go there. It's okay to have things in phases. That's something again that I've realized pretty recently that's very, very peaceful to accept.
Yeah, I think sometimes we go into things thinking everything's for the long haul. You got to stay in the job. It's like your forever job and of course when you get married, you want that to be for the long haul, but even with relationships, like you have to be open that people change, things evolve and not everything is meant to last forever. And that's okay. There's still something to be gained from that. Every relationship I've had, I don't see it as a waste. I've learned so much and I've grown so much from every friend I've had or every person I've dated or been in a relationship with. So I don't see it as like those were failures in any way. I take the good things from that, I take the hard things and the lessons from that, and I have used them to help build me into who I am today. And so I think it's just being open to the fact that life changes and something that might have felt really aligned and really good for you at one point might change, and that's okay. And I think it's just being open to accepting that reality. I think we're so
Right.
resistant to it because we're so scared, like, oh, like this worked at one point, and I'm sure it did, but it might not work anymore. Some things have expiration dates. And it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. And it's just being open to knowing. That's the hard part is like knowing when to exit. I struggle with it. It's a learning.
Yeah.
I'm continuing to learn, but just knowing when to pivot and when to exit.
And that's all presence, right? It's all
Mhm.
like how present am I in this moment to notice these things. It might be signs, okay, maybe this is time to it's time to move on from this.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's just getting closer to yourself, like you said, and the presence and just like knowing the signals that your body is giving you, no, trusting the feelings that come up like, oh, this is familiar. I had this feeling when I was leaving my marriage. Okay, let's just get quiet. Let's get curious about this. Let's not freak out. That's what I always tell myself. Let's not freak
Mm.
out, but let's get curious. What information is this giving me right now? And then using that information to move forward.
So if you were to look back, like let's say you're my age again, and I know that you wouldn't want to change anything because it's brought you to where you are. But let's say you had to go through your life and you still wanted to achieve, you still wanted to make an impact, but you didn't want to feel burnt out and misaligned. How would you go about that?
Oh gosh, it's a great question. I feel like I would have not locked myself into things so much. I married the first guy I dated. Like, that's
Yeah.
crazy. That's a crazy thing to do. And then, I was just so committed to corporate life. What if I took a gap year? What if I just went and I love to travel. It's such a passion of mine. Like,
Hmm.
what if I took a year off and like traveled and like gained some life experience that way instead of jumping right into corporate? What if I tried, I don't know, just different experiences or different jobs to see what I liked and what I didn't like? I think I would have gone back and allowed myself the freedom to experience life more instead of thinking
Mm.
I had to have a plan. I just locked in whatever plan was available to me back then and stuck to it. I wish I would have had more flexibility to have the freedom to explore because you're young. You should explore. Like you should be seeing all that there is, seeing what you like, what you're good at, what lights you up inside, and then using that information to build the kind of life that you want.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you so much. That's something I work on all the time is building time into my day, into my life to explore, to go on adventures. On the podcast I was interviewed on last night, I talked about my dream life, and my three pillars were purpose and mission, and then I had love, like love and family, friends, and then also adventure. And I think those three, like having the spontaneity of adventure, just is so fueling for creative work like we do.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that you're just looking at your life that way. And I just think it's so beautiful. Like I said this before we got on, but you were just an old soul, man. You are an old
Yeah.
soul, and I totally love it.
Yeah, that is probably one of the top three most common adjectives I get. Old
Yeah.
soul. Yeah.
I see why.
Um, so like looking back to if we go back to that vision you had of yourself, why like how can we cultivate that, you think? And I know this is a crazy question, but how can we cultivate that idea of just we need to experience life more in society as a whole? How can more people understand that? Because I think the people that do understand that live a much more joyous life. So how can we do that so that people can live more joyfully? That would make the world better.
I think it's doing what we're doing right now and talking about it, being open about it. I think in the past, I would not have told people that I'm doing this. I would have hidden it shamefully
Mm,
because it's really counterculture. I know a lot of people applauded me for it, but I'm sure a lot of other people are probably like, "What the hell is she doing? She left this really stable career." But I think when we are open and vulnerable, it inspires other people and it causes people to look inward at themselves and ask those questions for themselves. And it's just good to normalize it that there is not one right path. It is crazy to think that we are all supposed to have the same path, that we're supposed to graduate and go off to college and get a corporate gig and then marry the love of our lives and have babies and that's that. Like, that is crazy if that's the life everybody's set to live. It's not. So I think it's just encouraging people to do what feels right for them and explore and talk about it and be open about it and applaud each other for the cool things that we're doing in our own lives. So I am 39 and I just left a job that wasn't aligned. Like, let's celebrate that and let's
yeah.
celebrate somebody else who's doing something that's counterculture. We celebrate all these milestones that are so traditional, the baby showers and the wedding. Like, what about the other stuff that people are doing and that they're choosing themselves, they're growing and they're learning. And those are the things I think we need to take notice of more and celebrate more. And the more we normalize it, I think it will cultivate a culture where people feel free to explore and truly do the things and live the lives that work best for them.
I love that. Yeah. Like break free from our mold of what we should celebrate.
Yeah, what success actually looks like, because I think success can look a million different ways.
Yeah. So I'm curious, when you were in the in the hustle arc in the corporate world, what was your end goal? Because I know that a lot of people in that arc they live mainly for the weekends, and then the weekends are just like sleep and recover so they can go back hard at it Monday, right? What were you looking forward to?
That's a great question. I think making lots of money. I mean, if I'm honest, I wanted to. Growing up, that was always a priority for my family is financial security. So,
Uh-huh.
being a single woman, I took a lot of pride in being able to truly provide for myself and have the type of lifestyle I wanted. I went on vacation when I wanted. I bought the things that I wanted. It felt really good. It felt really
Uh-huh.
nice. It impressed people. When I was dating, it was like I felt like I could show up and like impress people, and that felt good. But behind that, I was still, yeah, living for Friday evening, recovering most of the weekend. Sunday scaries set in, and then boom,
Uh-huh.
back at it on Monday. And it hit a point where it didn't work anymore. But I think that's what was driving me is just the security of it, and also like the way it felt when people asked me what I did, I'd say it, and it just felt good. And now that's gone. It's a weird feeling, but it's trying to cultivate that pride without that and like being secure in who I am without that.
I love that you're able to accept that. And like, I loved it because it felt good when other people asked me what I did.
Oh, for
That's
sure.
definitely like one of the hardest things for people to recognize that, um, yeah, that's going back to the roots thing, right? Like I think about it when I talk to some of my friends and we talk about social media, some will immediately admit like, yeah, I'm addicted, and some are like, no, I'm not, but those are the ones that use it more, right? And so being able to accept like, yeah, I did it because I really wanted to impress other people. Like that is how you know you're on the healing journey.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to accept, But it's important. It's just to admit it. Like, yeah, I liked the security and I liked the way it felt when I told people what I did. But if you really ask me, like, do you actually enjoy what you do? It's, hell no. There was
Exactly.
a point where I did, but in recent years, no. I did not enjoy what I'm doing. I feel like I could do so much more than this. So it's just being radically honest with yourself.
But no one's asking those questions, and that's another problem, right? Why is it that the first person, like, first thing we ask is like, are you doing well for yourself? Not, do you enjoy your life, right?
I think we're afraid to ask those questions because what's the answer that's going to come up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I've definitely tried to step out of the mold a little bit, even not just on this podcast, but in everyday life, asking people those questions. I know I might not get the answer that's normal.
Yeah. But I think it's important to ask those questions because asking those big questions really helps you see what's important and what your values are in life. And your answers to those questions will change over time too. It's
Hmm.
like you can't be locked into one set of answers for your whole life. And it's just being open to what comes up. And sometimes it's scary because then like say you truly ask yourself, am I happy in my marriage, in my job? And the answer is no. Like, all right, what the hell am I going to do about that now? And that's it's a scary revelation, but
Hmm.
hey, do you want to go the rest of your life in an unfulfilling relationship or job? No. So you have to start asking those questions and then proceeding as your soul is calling you to.
So, to take another step here, as you know, it's the Grateful Podcast for the reasons of the duality of gratitude and ambition. So, I'm curious, when you took that step, were you motivated by anything you were grateful for?
I mean, I'm grateful for so much in my life. I just feel so, even though there's so much uncertainty and I do feel untethered at times right now, I feel more grounded and secure in myself than I ever have in my entire life. So I am just deeply, deeply grateful for the things that did not go according to plan in my life because I would not feel the way I do, be who I am without it. And there's a Carl Jung quote I love that says, it's the privilege of a lifetime to become who you truly are. And I feel like what a privilege it has been to go through these hard things, but these things have really been my becoming. My undoing has been my becoming. And so I am
Yeah.
just eternally grateful for it. And I'm sure I'll still have more detours down the road, but I feel so much more equipped to handle them now.
And ready to embrace them for their
Exactly.
positive aspects.
Yes, and help others through them as well, because we're all going to go through them at one point or another. And just realizing that it's not something to be afraid of, it's something to lean into.
Right. That's such a key mindset shift. Yeah, and the reason I created this whole philosophy of the duality of gratitude and ambition is because I see people like us who are so driven to move forward and create and have a purpose and all these things, and I see them missing out on the only time that we actually live, which is the present. And so, like, how can we land in gratitude for what we have and use that to actually fuel us forward, right? Instead of like the idea I see that gratitude is complacency. Like, no, no, gratitude can fuel us toward the goals that we have for our lives. And I think I see that with you. I see that you have gratitude for this detour, and so that's fueling you to create uh to educate people on how their detours can be positive in their lives.
No, gratitude really is everything. It changes everything. Having that mindset makes you appreciate everything in life so much more. And it's like a vibration. It's a frequency that you're in. And when you're in that, it attracts other good things. And from that, you just keep attracting relationships, situations, opportunities that are positive and that are aligned for you. So I think it's just a wonderful, it's just not a one-time thing. It's a mindset, it's a practice every day. Like before I go to bed, I always think about things that I'm grateful for. And no, not every day is perfect or easy, but it really does help me have a life that just, I don't know, just feels so full of joy and fulfilling.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're all craving at the root of all of our actions: joy and fulfillment.
Exactly.
Well, Jess, I've really, really enjoyed this conversation today.
Oh my God, it's been the best. This was such a great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. Before we wrap it up, I want you to let my listeners and viewers know where they can find you.
Oh, definitely. You can find me at thegreatdetour.com or The Great Detour on Instagram.
And all that will be linked in the description. Well, again, thank you so much. I look forward to hearing season 3 of your podcast, and I hope my audience tunes in for that as well.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This was such a great conversation, and I just wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you. I'm 18. I host the Grateful Podcast, and I've made a decision. I'm going to hit 100,000 downloads of my podcast before I leave for college on August 31st. I don't care how crazy it sounds. I'm all in. Every single day, I'll update you on my progress, wins, losses, strategy, doubt, everything. Let's see how far this goes. Follow along if you want to see me pull it off or burn out in the process.